Hello students, so we shall start with a new chapter, memory, chapter 7. So yes, we will start with the chapter, and basically memory is whatever you record when you see or hear or witness. Okay, so yes, memory is related to the process of recording any learning that takes place in one's life and allow later access to the same as and when required. Okay, without memory there would be no learning. We would react to each occurrence of a situation as though it had been not been experienced. Each performance would require relearning at the same time without learning. There would be nothing to remember, hence, learning is the process of building up memories for future use. Memory concerns the storage and retrieval of information, and learning is trace formation. Okay, so basically, learning, okay, you have to learn many things. So, you have the chapter called learning. Yes, you need to learn many things, and you have to store all those learning for future use. Okay, memory is where you record whatever you learn. Okay, the study of memory is fascinating because we can understand how we store some information and why we forgot some things very soon. Okay, yes, as in when we store our information, and we also try to forget some memories. Okay, so yes, the main important things we will go through: information processing approach, the stage model. This is very important. The stage model, according to psychologists, memory is the process by which we encode, store and retrieve information. Encoding is where you take in, okay, encode whatever the information you collect, and store it in your chip, okay, memory, or in your brain or in your mind, okay, or in your conscious, and retrieve information. So when it is when it has to be recalled or retrieved, you retrieve it back. Okay, so encoding is basically recording. Okay, encoding is recording whatever you witness, see, collect information. Okay, and storage is saving of the information. So whatever information you have taken down, so you will store it in your brain cells. Okay, and retrieve, recovery of stored information. Retrieval is where when you have to recall or retrieve your information, you can get it back. So this model, the stage model, is very much important. Okay, so we can understand memory by imagining it as that of a computer system. For example, a computer keyboard is encoding. Okay, so when you type information in your keyboard, we can see it as an encoding. Disk, which is present inside the motherboard, we can call it as storage, where the information is all stored. And screen retrieval, so if you want to find out some message or some information, it will appear on the screen, so that is retrieval. But human memory is far more complex than this. Okay, the three main process involved in memory is encoding. This is a process by which sensory information is converted into a form that can be entered into memory traces. Okay, so yes, we acquire lot of information, we hear lot of information. Okay, all that is connected through our senses. Okay, and all information is converted into visual images called as iconic images, or auditory codes called as echoic images. Okay, so we store information in our brain cells in the form of iconic, that is visual images, and echoic, that is auditory information. Okay, in the same manner, there may be codes relating to olfactory, gustatory, cutaneous, and so on. Yes, basically the senses, through our senses we receive information. Okay, and we store information. Okay, so basic thing through which we get information is through our senses. Okay, then storage. Learning brings about changes in neurons in the brain. The neural changes is called engrams and or memory traces. Okay, these changes remain in the brain, and whenever we need to remember or recall the information, they are activated. Yes, we store the memory. okay, whatever the information is collected from the outside world, and it is saved in the name of engrams or memory traces. Okay, so underline this, engrams or memory traces. And whatever we store in our memory, it can be recalled, remembered, and it can be activated whenever it is needed. Okay, so retrieval, this is a process by which information stored in the memory is located for use. If the information is not encoded properly or stored adequately, we will not be able to retrieve it correctly. So retrieval is where, when you need it, when you have to remember or recall certain incidents, certain information, it has to be retrieved, bring back. Okay, bring it back to conscious. Okay, so when you are storing and when you are recording, when you are storing, you have to do it properly. Okay, so only then you can recollect or recall it correctly. Okay, so yes, that is the model how memory works. Okay, so the next model, okay, the nature systems of memory. Okay, Atkinson and Schifrin have presented the following modal model, modal. Okay, so there are three types of memory: sensory register, extremely short interval less than a second. Sensory memory, okay, it is just in a milliseconds or a minute of information, okay, of memory. And short term memory holds information for 15 to 20 seconds, and long term memory almost permanent, procedural, episodic, declarative memory. Okay, so it is very short memory, this is 15 to 20 seconds memory, long term is permanent. Okay, so the above model is given as an idea of how information travels from one mode to another through certain active control process. The three types of memory are not separate storehouses located in different parts of the brain. They simply represent stages of memory. Okay, how memory is transformed from sensory to short term, and then if it is very much important, it is transferred to long term memory. Okay, so we shall move on to the types of memory. Okay, types of memory. Sensory memory, this operates as a kind of snapshot, okay, that stores information which may be a visual, auditory, or other sensory nature for a brief moment of time. This snapshot is destroyed or replaced with a new one unless the information in the snapshot is transferred onto some other type of memory before it is lost. Okay, sensory memory just lasts for few seconds, okay, just a minute. Okay, so for example, when you see a car, okay, you observe that, okay, you record it, okay, but after seeing car, if you see a truck or a bus, okay, that car which you have seen will be gone, okay, will be lost until you wantedly put it into another stage of memory. Okay, until you send it to a short term memory, it will not be permanent. Okay, so that is sensory memory. Sensory memory is basically called as snapshot memory. Okay, snapshot that stores information. Okay, it can be visual, auditory, or any other things, just for a brief moment of time, a small amount of time. Okay, until any other thing, until you focus on any other things. Okay, okay, so the next type is short term memory. Okay, or it is called as working memory. The information in the sensory memory is of raw sensory stimulus and is not meaningful. In order to store over time, it has to be given meaning. This is done in the short term memory by coding acoustically. It means that the information is converted into sounds. The STM is capable of holding 7 plus 2 chunks or items. So the memory which you store in, which you take, or the information which you collect in a sensory memory, it is just for time being. Okay, and it will not have any meaning, it is just raw. Okay, as in you take, it is just a raw. Okay, but if it has to long last, if it has to be over time, it has to be given meaning. Okay, and this is done in short-term memory. Okay, so you have to convert it into sounds, and yes, short-term memory is capable of holding for some time, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and it will grasp, or it will restore record memory of 7 to 8 or 9. Okay, a chunk is a meaningful grouping of related information that can be stored as a unit in short term memory. Chunking increases the storage capacity of STM. In mnemonics, it refers to a strategy for making efficient use of STM by recording information. Okay, so information in STM lasts for about 15 to 20 seconds. During this time, it has to be deeply processed to reach LTM. To do this, the information is sent to a rehearsal buffer. Okay, so yes, short-term memory is also called as working memory. According to the psychologist Alan Badley, STM has three-part working memory. Okay, so the three parts in short-term memory are central executive, coordinates material. Okay, central executive make use of subcomponents, the visual spatial sketch pad on the phonological loop. So you all just go through this. Okay, this is not so important. Phonological loop, speech, words and numbers, visual spatial sketch pad, visual and spatial material. Okay, yes, that's it about the short term memory. We will stop here.